Let's get stuck into this now with former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, thank you very much for joining me tonight. What reaction are Australians giving you to the decision of the sporting codes to back in a constitutional voice to Parliament?
Well, I think a great description of that was given to me the other day. They said, if kudos comes to someone who can kick a ball around a paddock or chase a ball around a paddock, then I'll start taking political advice from my dog. Now, what we've got to understand, Amanda, is I didn't spend Friday afternoon ring up all the NRL clubs saying, look, this is how I want the Raiders to play against the Rabbitohs. This is how I just watched the Knights playing and success and well won too, by the way, boys. But I didn't ring them up on Thursday afternoon and say, oh, well, I'm Barnaby Joyce from Canberra and I'm now going to give you a whole sort of reel of information about how you should play your game of football. And likewise, don't let the league and AFL teams and the ARU, the Australian Rugby Union, should be trying to just win games. That's what they should concentrate on. Don't let them put the weights on you. This is pressure tactics. And these corporate entities buying their virtue while they slam in their profits. I mean, that one really makes me sick, because we know what they're doing. It's saying, oh, well, if we can just give you some virtue signalling on this issue, then you'll ignore something we're doing somewhere else and ripping somebody else off and screwing someone down on a contract and beating someone down on a price. They too have to really, if they want to talk about politics, we can talk about a whole range of things, such as the offshore banking unit tax credit and why on earth we still have that. Like, you know, like, if you want to involve yourself in the political game, we're quite happy at a late stage to involve ourselves very strongly in every iota of what you do, because you've decided to put your corporate profits on the same pedestal as your sort of, some might say, quasi-virtue manual, and start intimidating the Australian people to say, do what we do.
What do you make of the bizarre claim today from Wesfarmers Chairman Michael Chaney that investors won't want to invest in Australia unless Australians back in a constitutional voice to Parliament? I mean, this is pretty crazy stuff, isn't it?
What a load of rubbish. They're all bending over backwards trying to open up markets again to China. They're absolutely doing everything they can to open up markets to China. Now, let's go through China's record with the Uyghur people, with journalists who have just been whipped off the streets in Hong Kong, with those people, Australians, corporate people who basically incarcerated without trial in China. So please look at your own manual. You are not a good example of who people want to do business with if we start following your example. That's the hypocrisy reigning supreme on that one is galling. In fact, it's nauseating.
Yeah, most countries don't have one of these things, and they're not finding that investment and capital are fleeing the territory. Let's move on. Between 5,000 and 6,000 defence personnel leave the military each year. And Barnaby, the $16.2 million enhanced employment support for veterans grant, designed to help veterans adjust to life after service, seems to have disappeared into thin air. You've called this to people's attention. Where's it gone?
Well, so often the warrants that the Labor Party give before an election turn out to be not the case afterwards. What we've seen is whether it's grants that were available to soldier on, to the RSL, to emergency relief, they're gone. Whether we see it on warrants and other issues like power prices, never happened. Registered nurse in every aged care facility, never happened. Interest rates would go down, never happened. But we've got to trust them on the voice. They seem to spend a lot more time concentrating on the voice than on the cost of living. That's something I have got loud and clear. And veterans is yet another area where we're seeing from everything from discovery of war graves, not war graves, of returned servicemen, especially for the First World War, and there are servicemen, and where they are buried, how they've managed to sort of cut the funding from that, cut the funding to soldier on. I mean, look, if Ms Hassel, the lady you had on before, wants to talk about something about politics, maybe she might, before the next game, talk about those issues and give her opinion on power prices and cost of living and what's happening to the discovery of returned servicemen's war graves and what happened to the money for the RSL and soldier on and emergency relief. Because now that they're in the game of politics, before every game, let's have a little political discussion.
And to that we can add the Labor's budget cut to end the program providing incapacity payments based on 100% of normal pre-injury weekly earnings for a veteran to be studying up for a new career. I mean, I don't see her offering commentary on that. Moving on to the parliamentary week ahead, what's on the agenda?
No, don't. And Phil Thompson's been well, in the coming week, of course, we're going to be basically continuing to pursue the Labor Party and this complete hypocrisy where they're just absolutely focused on the voice. They get focused on the philosophical. They're talking about transmission lines and wind factories and the voice. Why mums and dads are working out how on earth do I pay that bill in that envelope that's sitting on my kitchen counter? How do I do that? What's happened to my standard of living? Why are these people so fascinated in causes that are in no way going to help in any way the issue that's before them? And that is the price of their power, their price of their groceries, their interest rate, which is either on the housing payments or rent payments. These are the things that are worrying people. These are the things that are disturbing people. But what's disturbing people up top is the voice.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. I wanted to chat with you about some evidence that was given by Margot Andre, CEO of Australian Pork Limited, in a Senate committee last week about the intimidation and harassment of rural people by animal rights activists. Take a look at this, Barnaby.
They are coming to our office, they are pretending to be a plumber, for goodness sake, to get access to my office while they hide in toilets. God knows how long they had been there. It is appalling, and this behaviour should not be supported.
Barnaby, what right do these extremists have to make agriculture workers just trying to do their job, just trying to pay their bills, and who, in my experience, genuinely care about being humane to the animals with which they work, fear for their safety as the price of earning a living?
And also feeding your listeners. You worry about the price of groceries. Those people breaking into sheds are not the ones who are going to help your price of groceries. They're the ones who are going to hurt your price of groceries. We've got the population moving to 10 billion people. We've got a huge issue. I mean, what they are, they're always the same. They're the radical left trying to use a moralistic cause to overturn the democratic rights of the majority. They're always the same. And they virtue signal their way into it. You know, we're here for the pigs, and therefore we're going to close down food production. And that means it gives us the right to completely impose on someone else's property rights, to turn up, to mimic and pretend we're somebody else. I mean, we always get a sense of satisfaction, but it's infuriating. If I was saying, well, actually, I'm a radical greenie, I'm a bad-looking one, but I'm a radical greenie, and I just want to go to your office and, show me where the photocopy is, show me where the phone is, show me where your computer is. What's the code? I'm just going to send out a few emails here. I am a bank robber. I've stolen a ship. People say, oh, that's outrageous, because, you have mimicked something and came into their rightful private property and then completely destroyed their business process or their political purpose. But we allow these people to do it, and we sit back. So the question is to the courts, are you going to stand up, or are you going to say, with a wink and a nod, we'll let these people just completely go against the principle that a person has private property rights, they should be respected, they're doing a lawful business, and the lawful business feeds you.
Too right, Barnaby. Thank you so much. We have to leave it there, but I really appreciate your time on a Sunday night. You have a good one.